And all of you, Bezrat Hashem. Any questions?
Regarding preparing ourselves for prayer, how can we do that effectively, given that most of the shuls people just pray like this?
So, it's important to understand that the world around you is not going to change. It's not going to change right now. People are always going to, in synagogues, just like there's Kedusha there, unfortunately there's also Yetzer Hara too. And Yetzer Hara causes people to pray too fast, or talk in the middle of the prayer, and be distracting, and be annoying, and so on. So, a person needs to learn how to cause himself to zone out. I remember in the brokerage business, that was one of the most important things to learn, is that you have to zone out. You have to, in essence, put yourself in a mental state of mind as if no one is next to you. Now, how can you do it if a typical brokerage firm is like a boiler room? It's a boardroom. There's, depending how big the firm, it could be thousands of people. Everyone's on the phone. And they're not, hey, yeah, sure, sir, do you want to buy? Yeah, really? So what are you doing? Yeah. No one's whispering. Everyone is screaming at the top of their lungs. And the guy on the other side of the phone can hear the conversations. He's like, what are you in a zoo? Yes, the stock market. Go on TV. I mean, till this day, they make it seem like it's the same thing. It's not. But you go on, if you see the stock market channels, you see people are like buying and selling and everybody's screaming and so on. Even though 99% of all the trades are digitally, there's still a few people there to make it look good. But brokerage firms in general, and sales departments and marketing firms and so on, everybody's on the phone and you can't tell, hey, be quiet. Well, be quiet. You be quiet. I'm trying to make a sale. You be quiet. I'm trying to make a sale. I'm trying to make a deal. So in order for you to succeed, you in essence have to zone out. Put yourself in a mental state of mind as if no one is next to you. You're not looking right. You're not looking left. This is why it's important to look into nothing. Like pick a point on your desk, on the wall, or into empty, and just look at emptiness. Look at nothing. Look at nothing. This is a really, really important thing to do in life in general, because if you don't, you're never going to be able to succeed in anything, in studying, in selling, in nothing. If you need your own environment all the time, it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed. So that's one thing. Second thing is, when you go to synagogue, really, you should eliminate your own distractions. Usually you're your own biggest enemy. So if you have a phone, keep it in the car. If, whoever is calling you can wait 15 minutes. And if they can't wait 15 minutes, then you can't help them anyway. They need to call 911. Not you. So, leave your phone in the car. Leave all the distractions in the car. Don't talk to anybody. Don't socialize. Don't become friendly with people, especially not before the prayer. Look into the floor. People start talking to you, ignore them as if it's not happening, or just don't, Like, don't entertain any conversation whatsoever. And you could start, you could try to make people feel uncomfortable a little bit. It's like, if they're talking to you and you have a book, you're like, look at them like there's something wrong. God's here. God's here. You don't see God's here. Like, once you do that once or twice, people are going to stop messing with you. That's why I don't have many friends in shuls. But, once you are known as the guy that doesn't talk, then people usually steer away from you. And also, they actually start disliking you to some extent, but that's not a problem. But aside from that, it also helps. It helps you focus. It helps you because the people are not going to be next. They're also going to feel uncomfortable talking next to you. Not just to you, but next to you. Like, stay away from me. He's the not talker. That's the not talking department. He thinks he's Rabbi Akiva. Whatever. Let them say whatever they want to say. So you have to, point 1, zone out. Point 2, don't ever entertain conversation. Not even for a second. Not even for a second. Be very strict with it. And 3, make sure that you follow through constantly. Don't if one day you talk and one day you don't, then people are just going to hate you and they're going to think that you're just annoying. But if they see you're serious, then they're just going to let you be. Listen, I'd say this is a problem for most people to follow, not because it's hard to zone out, and not because it's hard not to talk. It's because it's hard not to be friendly. People think that talking in shul makes you friendly. So people like to have friends. They like to socialize. And Beit Knesset is a place that you're there 2-3 times a day. So it's a place that a lot of people socialize. It's a problem. So it's a lot of people meet their friends in shul. So if you want to make friends, then you're going to the wrong place, because that's not a place to make friends. Next.
How could there be some locusts that are okay to eat if the Torah says anything that fruits on the ground not to eat, not to eat anything that...
Because there was a certain version of it that was not technically a locust. It was a version of it that was kosher. It was in essence like an animal of some kind. It looked the same way. Again, like I told you, it's not available for the general public, and only a few old-timer Yemenites from Yemen actually know which ones they are still. But it's not available, you can't buy it in the store or anything. Next.
What should a person do? Start davening in Beit Knesset, and the people still talk even though they try to stop them.
So, if a place, I'll give you some basic things about Beit Knesset. A lot of people ask me questions about Beit Knesset. I'll just tell you once and for all, as far as for people to understand. The Torah commands you to learn Torah, to implement the Torah, to fulfill the Torah, to pray to Hashem, just like Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov pray to Hashem. We learn the Shachrit, Mincha, and Ma'ariv from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Torah gives us the 10 Commandments, tells us to keep Shabbat, tells us to sanctify Hashem's name, don't murder, don't steal, and so on. But there is no obligation to go to synagogue. There's no obligation to go to synagogue. But there is a major ma'ala, there's a major significance, if you will, to go to Beit Knesset and pray with the minyan. And the reason why is because if a person prays by himself, the sharet tefillah, the gates of heaven that consider people's prayers are only open to prayers with full kavanah, with full intention and meaning. So if a person prays by himself, it's hard to have full meaning and kavanah on every one of your prayers. Why? Sometimes you have a yetzarah, sometimes your mind is not there, sometimes you're in a hurry, sometimes this, sometimes that. Sometimes you're going to have kavanah better than ever. Other times, it's honestly, I can tell you personally, sometimes I think my prayer, I'm like, Hashem, I have to do tshuva just for the prayer. Just for the prayer I just did. It's such a terrible prayer. So, thank God Hashem has His mercy on me. But the point I'm trying to tell you is that your prayer is not always perfect. So, when you pray by yourself, and if you have full kavanah every time, or that one time, good. Your prayer will be accepted immediately. On the other hand, if it doesn't have full kavanah, rejected. Which means that if you're praying for a cure for cancer, you're praying for parnasah, you're praying for zivug, you're praying for all those things, and it's not getting answered, it's a problem. Now, when you pray with a minyan, assuming it's a kosher minyan meaning that there is 10 Shomrei Shabbat, 10 people that keep Shabbat, and that also do not go against the Torah intentionally with other aspects of the mitzvot, then Hashem takes the prayer in a different way. How? He takes the prayer, the best part of everyone's prayer, and combines it into a single prayer, and He accepts everyone's prayers. That's how the sages explain it to us. Meaning, you're going to have, let's say, for example, your Ashrei Shvei Betecha is going to be the best. His Korbanot is going to be the best. The other guy's Amidah is going to be the best. The other one's Shema Yisrael is going to be the best. The other one's Alil L'Shabech is going to be the best. The other one's Tehillim is going to be the best, so on and so forth. Hashem takes all the pieces together. Here we go. That's the best. I'll accept everybody's prayers. That's why we pray in the minyan, and that's why even Abaye in the Gemara Masechet Birkoth, who used to not pray with minyan for many, many years, he prayed by himself for many years because he didn't want to disturb his learning Torah. He said it's a waste of time for me to get up, stop my learning, go to shul, walk, this, pray with them, wait for them, chazat shots, all the things, then come back, and a minyan. It's a waste of time. You can learn Torah in this way. But then he himself learned the significance of going to shul and praying with a kosher minyan, and he started going himself. But for many years he didn't play with a minyan. And many of the chachamim actually made minyanim in their house, like Rav Ovadia, the Chazon Ish, a lot of the giants made actually people come to their house and pray in their house. They didn't go to Beit Knesset to save time. Save time, they would have 10 people come to their house and they pray at the house. So they don't have to waste time walking back and forth, and because they just want to pray, finish, go back to studying. But that's if you have a kosher minyan, then your prayer is going to have a better chance of succeeding. Because even if your prayer itself wasn't the best, you're getting credit for everybody else's prayer. Even if only part of your prayer was the best, you're getting credit for everybody else's prayer, and so on. Now, if the Beit Knesset, or the place of prayer, is a joke, it's a moshav letzim, everybody's joking around, everybody's chit-chatting nonstop, you tell them something. The rabbi tells them something. If the rabbi tells them something and they don't change, if you tell them something and they don't change, you shouldn't go there. Run away from there. Find a new Beit Knesset. Pray by yourself. Why? It's a moshav letzim. Now I know a lot of people are not going to like this part. Even rabbis are not going to like me saying this. Why? Because most places today are moshav letzim. Most places today are a joke. So the reality is, Rabotai, we have a problem. We have a problem as a nation. So we can pray for the fact that hopefully, at least if you have a Beit Knesset where during Kriyat Shema and Amidah no one talks, you have something to rely on. You have something to rely on. You can go there if you have something to rely on. If at least during Shema Yisrael and during Amidah they don't talk, you have something to rely on. But if they're even talking and chit-chatting and socializing during Shema Yisrael, during Amidah, during Kriyat Torah, you have nothing to do there. It's not a Beit Knesset, it's a moshav letzim, it's a place, a circus. A circus actually may be better. Because the animals don't talk. So, that's the thing that people need to understand. If the rabbi said something and they still don't change, if the rabbi is part of the talking, which has actually happened in several places that I know of. I know, for example, there's no Lashon Hara against Reshaim, but I know, for example, in Boca Raton, Goldberg and his buddy Moskowitz, those two clowns are the biggest talkers in the shul every Shabbat. They're the biggest on stage. They talk on stage. They talk to everybody. And what the best part is, he writes blogs once in a while. Yeah, we shouldn't talk in shul during Kaddish. What about the rest of prayer? It's a joke. It's mamash a joke. There's actually a whole section. There's a whole section of the shul where it's like the talking section. I'm serious. I'm not trying. Go. Anyone go see BRS. Go to BRS. Go to the shul. You'll see it. Right? It's real. And against him, there's no Lashon Hara. He's a Rasha, the guy. Anyone that wants to bring a missionary to a shul or brings what is that? Dr. Ruth, Shem Rachem, the Reshait that she is, made more Jews sin than anyone else in the world. And all the other Reshaim that he brings, all these reform rabbis and atheists and Zionists and all this garbage that he brings to the shul to taint people's minds. This is not a good person. May have a good salary. Other than that, he doesn't have anything else good. And this is unfortunately what we're dealing with in the world today, Rabotai. This is what we're dealing with in the world. So, with that being said, if it's a place like that, you have no business being there. You have to find a new place. If there's no other place, move to the desert. As I told you guys the other day, there's a nice chidush that Sonny gave me the other day. The Rambam says that if a person has neighbors that are wicked, or perhaps if he sees that he lives in an area where he cannot advance in his kedusha, He cannot become a bigger tzaddik. He can't work on his midot. He can't become better. He has to move, the Rambam says. Now, if there's no place to move, because every other neighborhood is full of the same reshaim, and he can't work on himself, and he can't. They're not going to allow him to pray. They're not going to allow him to study. They're not going to allow his wife to wear kisui rosh. They're going to torture him all day. Then the Rambam says, move to the desert, where your next door neighbor is the scorpion and the snake. But the Gemara in Masechet Birkoth says that there's also another neighbor in the desert. What's the other neighbor? The other neighbor is a demon. There's 3 places in the world that you can find demons. One of them is the desert. That's where the demons are. So the Rambam is saying it's better to have a demon as a neighbor than a secular Rasha that talks in a shul. It's better to have him as a neighbor. You understand? Such is the importance of being next to decent people or staying away from them. You have no right living anywhere you want. You have to live specific places. Last but not least, you should know this. People always tell me, listen, ever since I started doing tshuva, I have difficulty. And one of the difficulties is that their friends, they have difficulties with their friends. They start seeing that their friends either don't want to listen to them anymore, or they're going against them, and so on and so forth, friends and family. You should know that if you're really doing tshuva, that's going to happen. Meaning there's no exceptions to the case. That's going to happen. If you're doing tshuva, part of doing tshuva is getting rid of your past. And part of your past is not just your own sins. It's your partners to sins. Your friends, your neighbors, even if it's family members. If you have family members that like to go on a beach on every weekend, you can't continue associating with them. Now I know they're your friends and you could be your parents and they could be your buddies and you love them, I understand. But I'm telling you, you have to limit your contact with them as much as possible. And the reason why is because even though you may be sheltered from it and it's not affecting you because you've decided to do tshuva, you're strong, your neshama is strong, your yetzara is already, you beat it up. Why? Because you saw the good, you saw the bad, you decided to give it the good. So even if you see your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your neighbors, your best friends, and so on, going to the beach, it doesn't bother you. Fine, chazaku baruch. That doesn't mean that the same applies for your wife or your husband or your kids. You understand? It may not bother you, but them it bothers. Why? Because they don't have the same spiritual immune system like you. They don't have the same power as you. You may not be affected by the guy flashing money or flashing gambling or all types of things that are sins. But that's because you've developed an immune system against it. A spiritual immune system against it. But your little kids, your little babies, when they're 7, 8, 9 years old, they're going to go and see your father or your mom or your brother or your sister or your neighbor or your best friend or somebody doing something that's against God. They don't have the same immune system as you. So they say, wow, I want to go to the beach. Wow, I want to have no clothes on. Wow, I want to be a poker player. Wow, I want to eat pig. Wow, I want a TV in the house. Wow, I want to steal and murder. Wow, you understand? Why? Because it's not that they're wicked. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that they don't have the immune system to develop with it. So you have to understand that part of doing tshuva is sheltering yourself, not just for yourself, but for those around you. Now, I'm not saying never see them, never talk to them, but you have to contain it, which means that you probably have to move away. You have to have some safe distance between you. You have to, even if they're religious, still, you don't necessarily want to be on top of people and people on top of you in general. There should always be some room. People don't grow when they're still home. So, again, it's important to know that you have to honor your parents, you have to honor your older brother, you have to love everybody and so on, but that there's nowhere in the Torah does it say sacrifice your life for it. Sacrifice the life of your kids for it. Sacrifice your marriage for it. Nowhere in the Torah does it say that. Yes, love them, honor them, respect them, all that good stuff. But You can't sacrifice your olam haba for it. So part of doing tshuva is getting rid of some of these people. Getting rid of some of these people, especially the ones that are easy, like friends, because they really don't exist anyway. People love their friends until they realize they're not really friends. They're just borrowing from them. Borrowing time and attention and resources. But realistically, Rabotai, you need to understand is that some of these friends you have right now, you can't stay friends with them. They're little Esavs, they're little Amaleks. You can't stay friends with them. If your friend's an atheist, you can't be friends with him. Why? Because eventually he will influence you. All of these people that used to be rabbis or teachers or whatever that somehow went off the derech, all of them, without an exception, had friends like that. I know one guy that's a nice guy, but is turning crazy now. I mean, he's been going crazy for a while. Partly it's because of the people he's associating with. He's constantly talking to Christians and missionaries and people that are riding motorcycles, and he's just dealing with the wrong people. And the reality is that eventually it's going to affect your neshama. It's going to affect your yirat shamayim. Eventually, that yirat shamayim is going to disappear. If you don't mind sitting in front of me, that'll be much easier in my life. So the thing is, though, is that it's uncomfortable. You're like on my shoulder. It's not comfortable. God's here, you're here, it's not going to work. So it's just everybody here, God's here, I talk. Works. So the point is, Rabotai, is that you have to understand the some of these friends you have, you can't stay friends with them. They're dangerous. They're dangerous to your neshama. So this is an important part of tshuva. I know it's difficult. Trust me, I've gone through it myself. But it's necessary. It's necessary. Once you realize how difficult tshuva is and how important it is at the same time, you realize that it's worth the sacrifices, because eventually that's how you get the happiness, that's how you get the real success, that's how you get the olam haba. But it's all success requires sacrifice. Next question, then we'll finalize. Yeah.
Rabbi Yaakov Culi.
Okay. Wrote the Me'am Loez.
Yeah, I heard your brother and I got it. And he said something that kind of scares me.
Good.
And then it says like if somebody like says a wrong blessing,
Okay.
you should with tears in your heart, in your eyes.
Ken, it's using Hashem's name in vain.
Now, I mean, it happens, especially it scares me because it happens to the time you sing, over food and then you realize it, it's the wrong, blessing. Now, is there some kind of, besides that, of course, is there like another method? Like you could use something you say to.
So if you guys remember, I recommended the book Birkoth Eliyahu, which is a fantastic book that has pictures of all types of food that you would eat, most food that you would eat, in order to teach you which blessing to say on which food. Also, it teaches the blessings for other things, like for example, if you see a rainbow, or if you if you hear a thunder, if you see lightning, if you see a weird person, if you see certain people that, like an albino person, there's certain people that are weird looking, and there's blessings for them. Or if you see a special chacham, a sage, or even a chacham of the goyim, there's blessings for everything. But predominantly, there's a blessing for everything. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot says you're not allowed to enjoy anything in the world without blessing for it. There's a blessing for literally everything. But the stuff that applies to us the most is usually food. Now, what if a person wants to eat a food, but he doesn't know the blessing? What should he do? Now, an ignorant person would tell you should just bless whatever comes up to his mind, like shakol, like everything is made from Hashem. This is the wrong answer, to such an extent that if it's, let's say, for example, Adama, and he said shakol, he has a problem. He has a sin in his hands. He has a sin in his hands that some of the Chachamim say it's actually such a big sin, it's like you violated the third commandment. You used Hashem's name in vain. saying the wrong blessing is actually using Hashem's name in vain, which is the violation of the third commandment in the 10 Commandments. It's a big deal. To such an extent that a person, like he says, like Rav Culi, Rabbi Yaakov Culi, said, Allah Shalom, wrote the Me'am Loez. He wrote, a person, if he makes the wrong blessing, should cry non-stop. Because if a person understood the magnitude of what it means to say the wrong, use Hashem's name in vain, he should cry. So now, what do? If you don't know the blessing for sure, the answer is, don't eat. I'm serious. It's not even an exaggeration. Do not eat unless you know the blessing. Do not eat unless you know the blessing. Again, do not eat unless you know the blessing. This will force you to learn the blessings. Or not eat. Either you're going to be on a diet, you're going to lose weight, or you're going to start learning the blessings. One of the two is going to happen. Point is, you cannot eat without a blessing. If you bless the wrong blessing, it's a problem. If you don't bless, it's a problem. Now, obviously, I'm sure some hero is going to tell me, what if you're in the desert and you don't know the blessing and you have an apple, what do you die? No, you should. A person that asks such a question should die, because just relieve us from the agony of dealing with him and such level of foolishness. But no, I'm talking about normal situations. I'm talking about normal situations where you're in your house and with your air conditioner and you're about to eat an apple and you don't know the blessing. Don't eat the apple until you learn the blessing. Now, once you have this book, it makes life easy. Why? You have the book, you put it on the table, it's on the table at all times, it's not on the shelf, it's on the table at all times. You're about to eat something, you open. Marshmallow, oh, shakol. Apple, oh, borei pleiades. I don't know, let's say the cereal, the Flintstone cereal. Well, who knows here what the Flintstone cereal is? Flintstone cereal? Huh? Fruity Pebbles. Okay, what blessing do a Fruity Pebbles? Mezonot, Chazaku Baruch. 9 out of 10 people don't know that. No, I think it's shakol. I thought it was shakol. It's not. It's mezonot. Rice Krispies? Mezonot. So that's the thing. You have to know these blessings. So if you know the blessings, you're in good shape. Now, once a person understands that there's a price to pay, and it's a very small one, which is say the blessing, should learn the blessings. No problem. Now, what if, let's say, for example, you started to say, Baruch Atah Hashem, and you realize you already said the blessing. You said, Baruch Atah Hashem. I'm not saying Hashem's name, obviously. But you actually said the blessing, but you forgot in the moment of lack of clarity, you forgot you already said the blessing, or you decide you don't want to eat, or something happened. What do? You complete it by saying, Lamdeni chukecha. Baruch Atah Hashem, Lamdeni chukecha. Why? Because that's a verse in Tehillim. That's a verse in Tehillim. So in essence, you just repeated the verse in Tehillim, which relieves you from it. But that's only if you say Baruch Atah Hashem. If you said more to it, then you have to say something else. The point is that a person needs to train himself to break every blessing into 3. Every blessing into 3. Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokenu Melech HaOlam, whatever the rest of the blessing is. Shakol Yam Midvaro, Borei Pri Ha'etz, Motzi Lachem Min Haaretz. Why? That, first and foremost, will force him to have more kavanah. More meaning when he broke it up into 3. 2, he's not going to swallow the words. 3, he's less likely to make a mistake. Baruch Atah Hashem, first part. Elokenu Melech HaOlam, second part. And then the rest of the blessing is depending on what you're doing, whether it's bread or it's milk or it's whatever it is. So that's what. But again, not doing a blessing is not allowed. Obviously, that's stealing from Hashem. Eating without blessing is stealing from Hashem. But it's worse to not do a second blessing. Remember, there's 2 blessings. There's the first blessing and there's the second blessing. First blessing is before you eat. Second blessing is after you eat. It's much worse to miss the second blessing than to miss the first blessing. Because the first blessing is from the rabbis. The second blessing is from Hashem. It's Birkat HaMazon. Okay, and there's 3 different types of Birkat HaMazon. There's Me'ayin Shalosh, Borei Nefashot, and Birkat HaMazon itself. Point is, that book also tells you which is the second blessing for each one. I think that book or anything like it. I don't really know of anything like it, but I'm sure there is. That book belongs in every house of anyone that has a little bit of Yirat Shamayim and does not want to even take a chance of making a mistake with the blessings. Plenty of times I thought I knew what the blessing is, and I checked and I was wrong. Plenty of times. And Rabotai, I try to learn. I really do try to learn as much as possible. It doesn't mean anything. People make mistakes. Plenty of times my wife would tell me, no, honey, I don't think it was that. Are you sure? She's like Sarai Menu. I don't know. She knows everything. I go, I check, she's right. So plenty of times I make mistakes. People make mistakes. So the smart person makes the mistake once. And then he learns, he buys the book, he stops making mistakes. The stupid guy makes the mistake over and over again, and then he regrets it in Gehenom. Yep. But I think that was enough. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll have another shiur tomorrow. Tonight's shiur went a little further than I thought, but I think we covered some good ground. I think we completed, at least to this extent, the whole issue of anger, how to deal with it, how to fix it, the cost of it. If there's any more questions, you guys feel free to tell me. But like I said, in general, you're not allowed to be angry. But at the same token, you don't necessarily need to be someone that people walk over. You just need to know how to express yourself in a stern way without being angry. That's really what it comes down to. But that requires a lot of Torah. A lot of Torah. And a lot of Yirat Shamayim. So B'ezrat Hashem, we'll learn some more tomorrow night. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.